What up, fam? I hear the boys outside playing on their toys. So, as you know, Indigentv 7:30 at 7:30. That's the day that I promised I'd go live. For some reason, I'm having an issue with YouTube. It's not for some reason. We know what the reason is. Some technical difficulties with the program that I'm trying to run with this live. And I'll get it. But until then, you're not gonna have any fanciness. So I just checked, like I had like 94 notifications. And the first one, there was an individual who was trying to tie Africa into and let me say this. I don't deny my roots when it comes to Africa, but please know that my roots are tied to that land before the name Africa. So I decline your statement, sir, ma'am. Okay? And until you do true history research, don't come at me trying to tie me to anything. Okay? I've already done that circle. Listening to other people tell me who I am when I know who I am. And I urge other people to do so as well. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know how social engineering and civilization, the process of that takes place, you and I can't, well, I'm not going to debate. Who I am, there is no debate. Okay? It really sucks that program is not running because I wanted to show. What's up, Alex Little? I didn't see you in here, babe. How you doing, sis? Michigan in the house. Please, my replay viewers, you are valued as well. Okay, so quick thing. Understand how they do. And I was just speaking to my brother about this one day. And put it into layman's term. Let me let you know. If they took 100 people right now from US, placed them on a piece of land and told them the name of that land is Africa. And the people from that land know that they came from Africa, right? Let's just say not from here. Let's just say they took 100 people from Africa and then they put them in Africa on a piece of land and said, we're taking you to a new place. There's resources there. Y'all are not going to go hungry. You're not going to work for cheap labor. It's heaven. It's heaven. This is the new Africa. So they take them 100 people and then they put them on the land in this new land. Now, people don't know how they got there. They don't know where the fuck they are. They just know there's land, there's resources, everything. They get on the plane, boat, whatever. They go to this land. Over time, those individuals will have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And over time, the story of the old land is going to change, right? So over time, those people in Africa are going to say, I'm from Africa. The new Africa. Now, the people back in the other Africa, now they're not going to know. That's how civilization goes, okay? So when we talk about civilization and people and indigenous, understand, I'm not talking about other places. I'm talking about here. I'm talking about where my people are from. So if they take a few people from Africa and then they place them in another area with indigenous people and then they mingle, what happens then?
Babies.
Think about that. What happens then? Are they wrong? Are they not from Africa? To them, they're from Africa. Now, these are the great-great-great-grandchildren. This is all they know. They don't know the old Africa. They just know where the fuck they were born. Do you understand? So, again, when you're studying history, understand how pockets of people go and travel. Understand that back in the day, people were nomadic. Understand that, for instance, my people, New Brunswick all the way down. All the way down. What's up, Indigentv? Okay, we were nomadic. We went according to resources. So when it was blueberry season, we were where the blueberries were. When it was time for harvesting with potatoes, that's where the fuck we were, where the potatoes grew, where the grain grew. Exactly. We were nomadic people. Now, when they started civilizing, understand it's an art of war. Now, if I want to go and I want to go take over a landmass and there's people that live there, you think we just gonna go run up in there? You think that's how it's gonna go? Nope. Not when there's million wild savage warriors that are ready to kill. That's not what happens. How did they do it? Everybody talks about history. Everybody wants to claim a group of people, but nobody wants to talk about how they did it. Now understand, I'm not talking out of hate because my lineage goes everywhere, okay? How did they do it? They got other dark brown-skinned people to come in and take over. They mingle. Understand that we were already here. We were doing, you can see in our beadwork and our artwork, it's all tied to different people. You can look at the Abenaki and you can see the Basque people. You can see all over Turkey, everywhere. But that's on purpose. By the time you wake up and you start searching, you're going to start going to these different places and you're going to say, oh, we're part. It's all by purpose. It's called civilization. They got to do it with strategy. You don't just go in. If we want to go take over China, we don't just go run up in China and put all our soldier men on the front line. That's not how it happens, guys. So when we were doing trading with these other countries, they used the people that we were friendly with in order to know who we are, to study us, okay? So your churches or whoever, your government, they would send their people over. Most likely they were like your pastors or whatever, your priests. Right, no coincidence. Why do you think you guys are now knowing about Micmacs? We were recognized in 91. We had our first treaty in the late 1700s. Why did it take us until 1991 to get recognized? Because the other 4 fucking tribes that are in this state, they played the game. They didn't give a fuck about the indigenous other people. So when I say Wabanaki, I mean there's your Passamaquoddies, there's your Maliseets, there's your, do you understand? There's a group that make up that group. Okay, 2 of those tribes out of the 4 got fucked in the settlement. Excuse my French, but if you don't know, I'm not politically correct and I never will be. I'm not a politician. Didn't make it that long. How do you think that happened? Well, they played the game. So if you start to read history and you start to look at how these little battles and these little wars took place, okay, you'll see how it took place. You'll see who they befriended, where they started, who betrayed who. All of them. I agree with you, Ignorant. All of them. So my mother is Micmac, okay? And my father was from Halifax, Virginia. He had Cherokee. He was Cherokee. My grandmother's still living. Okay? So they were, when they enslaved certain parts of the country, there was other parts that were free. There were already dark people here. Understand that. They couldn't tell the difference between who the fuck was who. There was red, brown, there was dark brown, we come in all shades. That's why you can go to Africa right now and see all shades of different people. So you can be talking to a white person and they say, I'm from Africa. Does that make them not from Africa? If we get tied up on the surface shit, you'll never find out who you are, guys. Okay? You'll never know who the fuck you are if you get tied up by skin color. My son is blonde and blue-eyed. My son. Every day, somebody say something ignorant, he got to check him. It's always been deeper than skin color. Thank you, ignorant. So, you know, when I first moved back to my mother's, my ancestors, my mother's ancestors' land, do you know people in our tribe could not understand how I was native? How are you native? Fuck you mean? Because colorism still exists because people can't get past skin color. So, you know, I went through, oh, look at the squad nigga. I went through all of that. My parents went through all of that. Okay. But it still does not take away from the fact that you're indigenous. Your family is indigenous. And in 2019, a lot of us are indigenous now. We were born to this land, right? So let me ask you something. When you go on this, I promise you guys, I'll have my IT people take a look at it. I have to call my homie. He gonna have to give me some help, okay? Because I just spent some guap up in the shop on his technology. So he'll have to help me on this a little bit. And we'll get it going next Tuesday. But look up it's Africville in Canada, Nova Scotia, I believe. Maybe not. Just type in Africville, okay? Now, you're going to see a video come up, and you're going to see a lot of people that lived in this place. But what you're not going to know is that there were some people who remember, the elders that do remember where they come from when they were brought here, okay? But they were put in a place with other indigenous people that were already on that land, that were already dark. And when you start doing that over time, what happens? They all become one, right? So you're going to, just because one person says, no, I know I'm from Africa, and the other person says, no, my people are from here, that doesn't make the stories, it doesn't make one a lie. They're telling you the truth. They purposely took groups of people and placed them near other people. That's how they infiltrated our tribes. Paternal family is from Nova Scotia. Is he? I have to look into that. Never knew that. Never knew that. So for instance, I'm about to give y'all some deep shit that I'm actually, let me pay homage to my great auntie Liz and my grandmother Giju. I pay homage and I send love and honor to both of those individuals. My auntie Liz, which is my grandmother's sister, just passed away a couple days ago. That's the last of our matriarch, okay, of my lineage. Now, just my truth is in my family, okay? So when I tell you that they took dark people and put them with other indigenous people, and then over time, the stories kind of got diluted, right? So my mother and my mother's sister, they are both Mi'kmaq, but one of their fathers was not Mi'kmaq. Their mother was Mi'kmaq, but one of their fathers was not Mi'kmaq. My auntie Liz's father took in my grandmother as his own and raised her, okay? And I don't even know where his picture is right now. Abraham was Mi'kmaq, okay? Abraham was Mi'kmaq, but he was in his dark, and my grandmother's paternal father, whoever, apparently was darker. Now I'm looking into it, and it's very hard because if you look at the tribes in Canada, you'll know that they had residential schools. Shout out to Don Lynn, Michi, and all you. Please go watch that documentary if you have not. It's called Dawn Land, and it's about how the Child Protective Services committed cultural genocide. Even the state secretary said that. Shout out to him, because I didn't think that was going to come from his mouth. But thank you, Ignat. Thank you. At this age, it's not a loss. It's a gain. You see, I know that when our ancestors pass on to the other side, the light within us that we have from them gets brighter. So I'm empowering that moment, because now I know I got two solid matriarchs on the other side, along with my mother. They're not playing. But so Don Lynn showed how they took kids from their families and put them into, foster care. Well, prior to that, back in they did it for residential schools. So what they did was they took our ancestors. They didn't take the adults. They don't give a fuck about the adults. That's what and if you study how they do these things, you'll know. So they take the children, they put them in residential schools, and they take the Indian out of them, the native out of them. They make them speak English. They're not allowed to practice anything. They become whitewashed, is what you'll hear a lot. So And then once that happened, they sent them off different places, right? So while in there, it's a hard psychological fucking war on these children that happen. So please, when you're looking at your lineage and you're exploring some of these generational curses, understand how they got here, okay? My grandmother was not a nurturing woman, and I understand why she wasn't. She was very hard, okay? A very hard woman. The first time I seen her be nurturing was with my son, and I didn't even know who that woman was. When my grandmother would, like, mushy, like she did that light voice, and she was just so tender, and I was like, who is this woman? Right? Who is this woman? This is not the woman I know. So over time, they did their own work, and so over time, you see the generational curses, coming off. You see the difference, but understand that they came from a hard place. So while they were in a residential school, these children, not taken away from their parents, okay, they would do certain things. These nuns and priests would do certain things to these children. And I'm not talking sexual abuse. I'm talking psychological, right? What's the ow? Is that my sis? Kendrick. That's my sis. How you doing, sis? So what they would do is they would say they would pit the girls against the boys. The girls against the girls, the boys against the boys. There's one thing that please be mindful whenever you bring this up around the elder, especially those that are, older than 70. There's an event that normally takes place at certain powwows or Mawiomis. It's called the candy dance. Now, to some elders, the candy dance is that's don't do that. Why are you even teaching you? Do you know what that represents? And then there's some that just enjoy watching the kids have fun, but there's others that it's a trigger. And so what they would do is, say they'd be like 30 kids out in the schoolyard. They'd have 6 pieces of candy, and they throw those 6 pieces of candy, make those 30 kids fight for them. Sometimes it was girls against boys. Sometimes it was boys against girls. They played cycle, and that's just one incident. There's so many other guys. So when we look at our people and we're like, why, what happened to our people? This is what happened to our people. This is what happened. And over time, they used how to break a human, we'll say a wild human, right? Because these were the people of the woods. And over time, they used that as knowledge. They used that as knowledge to learn how to break humans, period. Oh, wait, Twisted, you dropped too much gems for y'all. Yes. Okay. If you look at over time civilizations, like there's nothing that you cannot tell me that this country is not a fucking experiment. We teach them how to switch times to keep people going, civilized, attached to the matrix. I swear we do. And what they do is they start, and it's almost like the same way that they knew how to set up their government here, because they used the indigenous people and how we had ours set up. They just switched it, right? So instead of matriarchs, you see patriarchs. But if you look sort of like the structure of the government, now we didn't call it the same thing. We didn't have the legislature. We didn't do that. No, you had your elders council, excuse me. Back then, your elders council, especially your sacred mothers, like what they don't tell you, and you can go talk to you. Michigan was in the house earlier. They'll tell you before people agreed to migrate away from the wars, they went to your grand council. Your grand council were your elders amongst the tribes. Okay. So that whole structure, they learned from our people. They tweaked it and they used it against us. And that's how they continue to do it. How the hell you think we lost so much rights? People don't realize it, but yeah, we have. We've lost a lot of rights. We have. So here in America, it's very, very unique, and I'll tell you why. Because over time, we kept taking it. We take in all these migrants, right? These migrants and these families, like Liberia, for instance. Liberia went through a civil war in the 90s, right? They said all those people over here, They stay here. They had kids. They start working. They go, you know, that now 2019, we have people who were not even born here, but are now citizens that work in the government. Well, isn't that kind of bias? Isn't that kind of bias? Because do you think that Liberian's going to look at your indigenous people? And understand that's where that tension comes from. That's why you got people running around here talking about, well, blacks are from Africa and all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. They are blacks and Africans, but there were blacks here too. I tend not to use the term black, but there were dark people here too. And so over time, now we have people who are they're not indigenous to this land, but they're dark. They can say they African American. You can say you African American because you were from Africa. Now you're American, right? You can say that. But I'm a whole indigenous American. I was born here. My parents were born here. They were from here. Lineage after lineage. Ain't nobody come from nobody else. That's here. Now we have broken up and mingled. You know, my first husband was African, and our child would have been African American, I guess, indigenous. I don't know, whatever he would have claimed. But so we've intermarried. So again, don't argue with me who I am. I know who I am. I know where we came from. I understand how they civilized this place. I understand how to fuck the thing, and I understand, and it's changing as we go, guys. Okay, it's changing as we go. All the time. I guarantee you by the time my children are 21, their story is going to be a little bit different and according to what is the consensus around, because they change it all the time. The Smithsonian takes our artifacts and tells us when we can have them back. Well, if they're taking everything that we know from, because when you reflect on a group of individuals, a civilization, you look at their art, right? You look at their spirituality, you look at the culture as a whole. Well, if the Smithsonian is taking all of our shit and telling us when we can have it back, and if we can't, then they have it. They hold on to it. Ask the Smithsonian how long that they've had those original prayer books from the Abenakis. Ask them how long that they knew that they had those the pyroglyphs and the hieroglyphs, the connection between the Egyptians. They know. Because they did it on purpose. Just like you hear the story of the one gentleman now that's in the news, because he was a slave, but then they found out he was a Jew, he was Hebrew, right? Well, yeah, you're gonna find that. That doesn't mean everybody was a fucking Hebrew. They took people from everywhere, guys. But today, now I can stand here and tell you it's all a part of the process. It's all a part of the process. Y'all got to get past skin color and understand the only reason why certain shit becomes hot in the communities or in this country is to keep you directed a certain way. Just like they did with, for instance, with our settlement. We got recognized in 91. The other tribes got recognized in 80. They got all this fucking land and they try to act like they didn't know the Micmacs existed. How the fuck not? You got your first treaties included. Said it right there. So why in the 80s, when they were recognized, why did y'all purposely keep the Micmacs out? Why? Because they thought the border took care of it. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? So now those tribes that were recognized in the 80s, they got land, they got the money, they got their infrastructure, their rights. And then after, they slapped us with a restricted settlement. We can't develop our tribe and take care of our tribe the same way that the other tribes in the state does, because they can collect tax. They have the rights to act as a government, but we don't, because it's restricted. So, which doesn't even make sense either, because, you know, they're telling us the state has to monitor us, but then the state or the federal government, and y'all find this, and I spoke about this, they want to say that they are governing us, but they don't even know our laws and rights. I watched a video, shout out to the Native American Council, I think it is. He did it where he called BIA and they were transferring everywhere, and everybody was like, I don't know. That happens all the time. And that's the point. The point is that you can't govern us if you don't know our rights. You can't say you're governing us if you don't abide by your rights and responsibilities, right? So But they're able to do that because now they got those other tribes that feel like, oh, we're better than them because we're not under a settlement. We're not under the same settlement. We got more rights and responsibilities. No, it's because they play the game, because they sold their people out first. If you look up the history of my people alone, let me tell you what they did. And I was joking when I said this, but this might be some truth, y'all. So they took a high-ranking chief, right? Brought him over there and showed him. Ooh, thank you, babe. Yes, ma'am. I don't care, but this is like crack, y'all. Hey, so they took him over there, wooed him with all the riches, right? Converted him to a Christian and sent him back here, and then that's what happened.
Girl, you know that it's like 80-something 5 degrees up here, right?
I'm not hot. You're Caucasian. I'm not.
I'm sunburned. Sunburned.
I'm playing with my husband. Come here. Why you do that? Come here. Come here. You want one?
Yes. He's worse than you are.
My dog, y'all. So they sent him over there, wooed him with all of that, gave him some sort of fed his ego, basically, because then he came back, and then that's when they started, they really started to do damage on us. And so they did it from east to west, west to east. They sent them from that way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and my Moor brothers and sisters, understand what you are when you say I'm a Moor and all of this. Do your history. Do your history. Do your history, please. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, because I have my blood runs thick too with the Moors, okay? But that's who they use to come over here and to start tackling our people. So when I see the Moors, they be down there fighting, talking about, they fighting for that identity. I don't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for you. I don't. And you'll see that. You're going to see, I've watched this over history. Let me tell you, Dr. York, the Nawapians, I didn't come across them through conscious studying. I came across them because I wanted to know if I needed to help them understand how to get, recognized. That's, I think, what was it, 2001? 2001, I started watching it because I seen brothers and sisters trying to get recognized as a federally recognized tribe, and I needed to know if I needed to help them. And then when I started snooping, I realized what the fuck that was. I said, wait a minute, and then I started to see what was going on in the South as far as with the Seminoles and all of that. Then I started to see it. So when you see people that be screaming, I'm a Moor, and well, then take your ass back over there. Because you're not acknowledging your entire history. Your entire history is your lineage helped slavery. Oh, yeah. So I don't feel sorry for you. Now that you're eating the short end of the stick here, I don't. You may be royalty over there, but you're not here. Here, you are a traitor. So be mindful of what the fuck you claiming, because you want to feed your ego, because that's what it is. When I started to see that my lineage crossed over and I did my studies, I was disgusted, just like I'm disgusted with some of the people that play part in taking over my people. Just like I'm disgusted with politicians today in our tribes, because as a tribal leader, I witnessed this shit. Let me tell you what happened. What happens is they sell y'all shit, get elected, they get down here and then start playing yes ma'am up in the federal government. So when they hold all these big forums and these people from BIA, and then go back and watch. You can go to USET's board meetings and see Miss Kendoli up there talking about don't feed me no bullshit. We still got people today that ain't got no running water and electricity, ain't got no roads. Okay? And that's why they call those tribes native. Okay? They call them native. Right. And then your leader sitting down there like, bitch, don't feel yourself over a title. Let me I was vice chief. My term was 4 years. And I think it was towards the end of the second year when I would go out and represent my people and go advocate and attend these meetings. It took about, I think it was like at the end of the second year of my term when people actually started noticing who the fuck I was. Other than that, they didn't know. So I come to board meetings, I conduct my business, and I roll the fuck out. And then they see me. It was about the second. I want to say the other tribal leaders were like, I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. I didn't know that. Listen, I am still an indigenous woman. Just because I may carry a title, you don't have to kiss my ass. I ain't got no ego. Let's get down to business. And that's how the government works with these other ones. Okay. And then they're going to uplift the individuals that don't look too native. Okay. That's the real. So when you look at these organizations and you'll see board members and they're the chief here, the vice chief here, board member here, they're 9 times out of 10, those are your fair skinned ones. They're not going to put the ethnic looking ones up there. Because if they did, half of you motherfuckers down here that's arguing who's black and African, you would already know who the Narragansetts are. You would already know who the Pequots are. You would already know that. Nobody would have had to tell you that if you already did it, but you're not going to know it because they're only going to put the fair tribes up front, the ones that played the game longer, the ones that have been whitewashed already. Okay? Now, in the beginning, they wanted us to prove by blood. The only fucking group of people here we had to fight to say that we were indigenous by blood. Why? Because in the beginning, it was not benefiting us. It was benefiting them in the beginning. Now they're encouraging all tribes to lift the blood quorum. Did y'all know that? Nope, you didn't. The only way, and the reason why is because they understood how to maintain providing healthcare to all these large tribes, because it was not until after the Obamacare deal. After that, they was like, we don't give a fuck about blood quorum. But before that, they was like, no, we encourage you. Well, by then, we was already so fucking mingled. You show me one fucking Micmac that's 100% and I'll kiss your feet. I'll kiss your feet. Because I tell you, the Micmacs on this side, because there's only one recognized tribe on this side, but we all come from Canada. You can look at the tribe. There's people that look like me. There's people that got big noses. They're a little dark, but they got the straight hair. They look more Alaskan. Like, it's just so mingled. You cannot look at characteristics no more, people. And let me tell you what. Don't send your blood off and come back and tell me they told you 100% Cherokee, because I'm going to tell you, you a goddamn lie. Indigentv, I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm saying. Y'all not going to tell me who I am. I've known who I am. And I've ran this goddamn circle for a long time. I had to. It's very imperative for me to know. Because especially before I started having children, I seen what. Now, I grew up in the DMV. I seen what my friends and their families went through, not knowing where they came from. I seen the strife in our people that don't know who they are. Because if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. You feel lost. But this is 2019. If you don't understand now that they're going to keep changing where the fuck you are, if you keep asking. If you keep asking who I am, they're going to keep changing the narrative. Just like they changed the narrative in religion. We're in a new age. This is a new age, guys. Let's start out fresh. Understand you're indigenous. Start by where you were born. If you was born in Virginia, find out all the tribes that they don't talk about. Not the ones that they talk about. The ones that they don't talk about. Okay? Lenape. The people. Lenape. Go look at the Lenape tribe and see how many people are still there. Not many, because of the area. So when they started infiltrating the DMV, those people started going other places for jobs, which 9 times out of 10 was like Philadelphia, Delaware. Shit, what is that book? I might have it. If it's not in here, it's in my shop. Nope, it's right here, I think. Who that? That's a black woman? No, that's a Native woman. That's Marion Gould, Strong Medicine, Virginia. And you're not gonna hear. You're not. They're not gonna tell you about this. You gotta look this up. You gotta read this shit. Look, this is how far I got. I still got my sweetgrass marker in there. Those are the ones that you want to look up. And your tribal people, they know. They know. When your grandmother said, no, we're Native, your grandmother wasn't losing it. You know, and I know they used to be the joke. We used to joke with my dad all the time because we were registered through my mother, right? We were Native through my mother. My dad be like, nah, I got that good hair because I got Cherokee in my family. I'd be like, yeah, you got Indian in your family, huh? You know, that used to be a joke. But no, there's some truth to that. There's some truth. Whether your tribe is recognized federally or state is one thing. Whether you're a registered member is another. But 9 times out of 10, the reason why you're not registered is because your family took up and went somewhere else, or the area that they were growing up, you had to denounce that part of yourself because that happened, guys. The town where my grandmother purchased a home in the town, they did a petition to get her out of there. She bought the house. Her and my grandfather bought the fucking house, and they did not want Native people purchasing property and living in town. They didn't want it. And that happened. These type of things happen all the time. And if you put who you are and keep asking in the hands of the people, because quite frankly, either they're not gonna, like Moors. Most Moors are not gonna sit up there and tell you that they people helped enslave people. Just like certain parts of Africa, certain tribes are not gonna tell you. Okay. In Liberia, if you say that you are freeman, that means you were never enslaved. You never sold nobody enslaved, and they hold their chest up. But guess what? I did my study. Everybody sold everybody. Okay. Okay. And the people that live in Liberia now are not going to know this because these are all the young people that, you know, when they say, okay, we're going to rebuild Liberia, everybody came back. The elders, some of the elders were too old. They stayed there. Okay. You want to know how they change history and how they confuse people? Just look at Liberia in itself and how they did that. Because I could tell you it's fucked up. It's fucked up. Hence the reason why I will never, ever, ever, ever cash in on any money that ever came from my first marriage. Because I don't know where the fuck it came from. That could be blood money. Y'all can have that shit. Y'all can have that shit. That's some foul shit. And those were other Liberians who helped do that. Y'all better check y'all history. All right, so I know I was late. Technical difficulties. My next live next Tuesday, 7:30, same place. I'll come. You were saying the same thing? Yeah. It's fucked up. That's the fucked up thing about it. And that's why I get so angry at people here in the country, because we still fighting over where the fuck we come from, who's black, who's white, skin color and all that shit, when in reality, it's not the white man that's oppressing us. It's 2019. There's a lot of people oppressing us. A lot of people that still hold sacred to their traditions of, you know, I make a decision today. I'm always thinking 7 generations ahead. These people don't do that. You can see that. That's why Mother Earth is hurting. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. All they care about is keeping control and living a good life, and they can fuck anybody underneath them. And that's fine. Just be upfront and tell me that's what, so I know what I'm working with, right? You know, you hear people all the talk, they talk about conspiracy theories and all of this stuff. You really got to dig deep, guys, before you really hold true. Before you take on a title and you carry that with so much grace and honor, understand what title you carrying, understand what organization that you are repping, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes in civilization, you know, we feed our ego with these certain titles or something, or we tie ourselves to a group of people, and we really don't know the history of that. We really don't. And in this day and age, when we say who's oppressing us at this day and age, really it's ourselves. It's ourselves. Because if there's one thing that I did learn in martial arts is once you know your opponent, what's the problem? Once you've studied your opponent, what's the problem? If you know their strengths and it's a part of your weakness, you strengthen your weakness, right? It's the art of war. I'm telling y'all. So next week, 7:30 to Tuesday, 7:30. I'll be here again, and this time we'll get that program running because I want to be able to show y'all documents and stuff to back up. And it's a little bit more structured when I do it that way. Come here, Touch Toits. Where you been? Oh shit, here comes Saki. But anyway, it'll be more structured, more organized. You know, I'll be able to facilitate the dialogue a little bit better. But we were having some technical difficulty. And at that point, I wanted to keep my word because I wanted y'all to know that I am serious when I say I'm checking in with y'all every Tuesday. That is what I have to do. You know, my ancestors say, no, they need you. Your word needs to be heard because they're getting too lost. And in the midst of us getting lost, everybody's going to be shorthanded. Everybody is going to be shorthanded. So yeah. But anyway, I'm here. I'll be here next Tuesday, 7:30. I'm always online. Check me on with my other Instagram, everything else, at twistedverbally.com or Indigentv. I have them both up and running. So Instagram, Facebook has been kind of shady, but fuck them. I don't need them. I'm not sending my ID and all of that. They just big mad because, you know, they just big mad. I'm not repping them. I can't. Facebook, you foul as fuck too. So anyway, Instagram for sure. Here, we'll get more active on some other things, but right now, here, come see me. I'll be live every Tuesday, 7:30, where we talk about topics and events in our communities that are plaguing us. And sometimes my people just need help. Y'all need help understanding, especially if you're trying to get, you know, recognize your indigenous roots, recognize you. I'm here. I've served the process on both ends. Getting, you know, watching my parents, I said my parents, but my mother and my grandmother, my elders, the pillars of my community, get us recognized, watching and helping other people, bringing them back to their land to get them recognized, because my tribe is foul as fuck too. They put stipulations that you had to live in certain place to be recognized after 91 as a tribal member. When we had, when we have our people all the way through New England. So our people in Massachusetts can't come home because they never lived in the state of Maine. That makes no sense to me. They foul as fuck. I told them about themselves too. So I'll be back next week. I'm sorry, y'all. My cat. Say hi. Go. Yeah. So I'll be back next week. I have some documentation. We're gonna go through my grandfather's attestation, the inconsistencies of how they did things back then. So he was definitely copper brown. Anyway, I love y'all for the free. I will be back next week. See you soon.